The eighth task of Hercules was the horses of Diomedes. Now, Diomedes was actually a king and in fact the son of Ares. And the horses were man-eating. Don't worry, more modern times they would have eaten any of the 100,000 different genders, so you don't have to feel left out. Now, when Hercules went there, he took a few people with him, and when the king found out that Hercules was trying to get hold of his horses, him and his soldiers came chasing after Hercules. So Hercules had to leave one of his people behind to stay with the horses while they went off to fight. Hercules came back. That person that had left with the horses was eaten by the horses. Hercules got so annoyed, he went and took the king and fed him to the horses. He then took the horses back to Eurystheus, who then supposedly either sacrificed them to Hera or let them free to roam in fields. The 11th task of Hercules. Now, as you know, he should have only done 10, but Eurystheus had said that 2 of those other ones that he'd done were void for various reasons. So in this one, the 11th, was to go and get golden apples from the garden of Hesperides. Now, the actual apples belonged to Hera, which was his stepmom, and obviously that made it a bit difficult. So there's some stories say that Hercules managed to get Atlas to go and get the apples, but then there's other stories that say Hercules himself went and got the apples and had a big battle with Serpent, I think it was, and some other people that were there protecting them. And then he managed to get the apples and took them back, and then he just had one more task left. So watch the next video to find out. I'm going to have to address this because I think this is a bit too stupid for people to even possibly believe, but people do. So they believe that because we've now got the technology to do green screen, that's how it was done back in the 50s. Obviously, we didn't have computers back then. So they're saying that because we can do green screen, that's how NASA does it all the time, and therefore there is no space. They just pretend that these objects float in space. Now, I do agree NASA lies, but also we've got the technology to make dinosaurs look real. Doesn't mean they're real right now. So in other words, just because we can do green screen now doesn't mean that's how it's done. So let's go back and imagine in the 50s, NASA contacting, in the Cold War era, ringing up Russia. Hey, Russia, we hear you're going to be sending up some rockets. Do us a favour. Pretend that there's no atmosphere up there. And the Russians would say, why? What benefit would that be? Well, we know you're going to be sending up rockets and we know you're going to hit the dome. Yes, we're going to hit the dome and it's going to cost us loads of money, but we're going to keep doing it because it's a bit of a giggle. No, all right, yes, it's going to hit the dome, but we forget the fact that it hits the dome, even though between me and you, there's no dome. Firmament actually meant atmosphere if you go back to the proper original text. But anyway, so the Russians would then say, okay, but what benefit do we have pretending that there's weightlessness? And the NASA will say, well, there's no benefit really because normal people don't go into space, but it's a bit of a giggle. Okay, Russians say, we'll do that. We'll tell China and everyone to start using rope and string and cat wire to pretend that things are floating. That'll be good. Yes, good. And then lo and behold, later on, they have a thing called the Vomit Comet, which is a craft that actually produces weightlessness. So, NASA, that's a bit of luck. We kind of pretended there was no weight, no atmosphere up there, and everything was weightlessness. Now we've got a rocket or a plane that can produce weightlessness. So that was a bit of coincidence, isn't it, that we faked that? And anyway, then you have people saying that like this here is a rocket supposedly hitting the firmament, which again, if you go back to the ancient text, it's atmosphere. Anunnaki struggled to get through the atmosphere. So basically this rocket malfunctioned and headed straight back towards Earth, and they say that hit the dome, whereas here, back in Apollo 11's time, people with telescopes could actually see it go further than the rocket that supposedly hit the thing. So is the dome all bumpy, in which case this got past that bit that one got past? You see, just please start using logic. Doesn't make sense for everyone around the world to start pretending that there's no weightlessness, there's weightlessness. It just, help, let me off this planet, please. The globe, let me off the globe. The video you're about to watch after I finish talking is a clip from a video that's on my Patreon page and it's called Everything You Need to Know About Spirits. Now there's 3 segments at the moment, and every week there's another segment. Now there's loads of videos on my Patreon page already. There's 41, but so the clip you'll be watching is from segment 1, and it's going through absolutely everything you need to know about spirits. So hopefully you like it. If you do like it, what you see in a second, the clip of it, feel free to watch the longer video, way longer, on my Patreon page, which is called Our True History. Thank you very much. The 12th and final task of Hercules was to bring back the heads of Cerberus, which was a 3-headed hound that lived in Hades, which is the underworld. He went there, and Athena told him that he would have to talk to Hades in order to be allowed to kill it, otherwise it's not going to end well for Hercules. So Hercules had a word with Hades. Hades said you could borrow the Cerberus if you can wrestle it and, you know, subdue it, and then take it back and prove that you've done it. So he did that. He managed to wrestle it, took it back, and that ended his 12th labour. And later on, Hercules, there's a few different versions of this, but later on Hercules remarried, and his new wife was a bit too jealous and covered his clothes in the Hydra's poison, which killed Hercules, and Zeus took his body up to heaven, and he was now classed as a god.